Israel PM has now promised that he will make sure that the evacuees return home safely. That's the promise that has been made by Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu said, "We rescue people from the northern border, but Hezbollah will pay a high price." This is what is a promise of sorts and a threat of sorts has come in from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
אנחנו נחזיר את תושבי הצפון בבטחה לבתיהם, וכך בדיוק נעשה.
The United States Security Council all set to hold a meeting and they will investigate the explosions that have taken place in Lebanon. Prime Minister of Lebanon called for an urgent meeting of the UN Security Council following the continuation of terrorist explosions taking place across the city of Lebanon. It is the UN Security Council which is all set to hold a meeting. They'll investigate the explosions that are now taking place in Lebanon. In fact, the Prime Minister of Lebanon called for an urgent meeting of the UNSC, that is the United Nations Security Council, following the continuation of terrorist explosions. Let's listen in.
Information, we're still gathering the facts. I can't tell you in this moment what impact this will have. I certainly can't speak to what impact it might have on Hezbollah and its operations. That would demand other expertise, and again, it's also necessary to fully understand what's happened, and we're still in the process of doing that.
Foreign Affairs Editor Geeta Mohan joining us on the story. Geeta, it's not just West Asia which is on the edge at the moment. The entire world is now looking at what's taking place here.
Well, that's right. There is an emergency meeting that has been called at the request of Algeria. Slovenia is the president, the term president for the UNSC, and therefore they have accepted the request, and it's on Friday that an emergency meeting around 3 p.m. Local time in New York is going to take place, and that emergency meeting is going to discuss the modus operandi that has been now adopted by Israel, leading to about 300 injured on Wednesday, and more than 2,800 or close to 3,000 injured on Tuesday. So the discussions will revolve around the blasts that have taken place in through pages and walkie-talkies, and the engagement would be about how there needs to be peace that needs to be brought about between Israel and Palestine, or particularly Hamas in Gaza, rather than the aggression that we are seeing right now between the two sides.
Thank you, Geeta, for giving us all those details and putting things in perspective. The UNSC has now called for an emergency meeting. They'll investigate the blasts that have been rocking the city of Lebanon over the past 48 hours. Used by the Lebanese armed group Hezbollah exploded in Beirut. One of the explosions occurred during the funeral procession of Ahmadi Ammar, who's the son of Lebanese MP Ali Ammar. Now, the walkie-talkie blast was smaller in size compared to yesterday's pager explosions. Moment after the walkie-talkie blast, a mobile phone also exploded at a shop in Beirut. The home solar energy system exploded in several areas of the city. Now, Israel has officially declared that this is a new phase of war. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said people in North will be allowed to return back to their homes safely. All this after the Israeli army has said it has now turned its attention to Lebanon's northern front. The Hezbollah in a statement has said that this act of aggression will not go unpunished, and they have said they will retaliate against Israel.
حتى اللحظة الواضح أن يعني الأجهزة سواء البارحة البيجر أو الأجهزة اللاسلكية اليوم هي موجودة بيد وحدات إدارية ذات طابع لوجستي أو خدماتي، وهذا بالتأكيد له تداعيات إنسانية أخلاقية، وبالتأكيد يعني الموضوع العسكري يعني موضوع مختلف تماما.
أكيد ما بنفزع، نحن فدا السيد ومع هالخط ومع هالمقاومة وكل اللي عم بيصير فدا أجري، أهلي وأولادي وجوزي وكلهم فدا أجري، بس إنه أكيد شيء مقلق يعني للمجتمع، بس أكيد نحن فدا، واللي كله عم بيصير ما في شيء حيهزنا، ما في شيء، لا انفجرتونا نحن ولا أولادنا ولا عيالنا، ما في شيء حيهزنا، وهذا الخط نحن عليه وما حنتغير وما حنقلب وما حنزيح.
My colleague Gaurav Sawant is now joining me on the story. Gaurav, a wave of blasts are taking place. All sorts of wireless devices are now being detonated. In fact, Hezbollah communication lines have been snapped. In your opinion, what will happen next?
The situation across Lebanon is extremely grim. First, a wave of pager blasts and then walkie-talkie blasts. It just indicates an escalation by the perpetrators and whoever the perpetrators are. While both Lebanon and Hezbollah, they've blamed the Israeli intelligence agencies. There is no word from Israel except Yoav Gallant, the defense minister of Israel, has said that there is a rebalance to the north and they would focus now on their northern borders, and this would indicate that the next phase of the conflict in the region is Israel taking on the Hezbollah threat. Israel's main aim is to ensure that the Hezbollah are pushed back as much as possible to ensure that the rocket attacks do not directly target Israel's northern areas. And that is why, was this a preemptive strike by Israel to ensure that the command and control system, the communication system, especially of middle rank and tactical level commanders of Hezbollah, is completely taken out. Not just communication, but also fighters, with over 3,000 people being injured in the pager attack and then several injured and some killed in the walkie-talkie attack. So an escalation with the targeting of communication system or digital networks, all of that could well be on the cards next.
Gaurav, Israel has now declared that this is a new phase of war which is taking place. Now it's focusing on northern part of Lebanon. In fact, the Israel-Hezbollah clearly are on the brink. What are Israel's options at the moment?
West Asia is clearly on the edge right now, even as we speak. So since the 7th of October attacks, Israel focused first on the Hamas, the southern borders with Gaza. They've entered Gaza in the past several months. They've been able to decimate a major part of Hamas and ensure that wave after wave, the salvo after salvo of rocket attacks from Gaza into Israel is no longer that potent a threat for Israel like it was. And that is why they are now rebalancing their forces and focusing more on the northern borders with Lebanon and ensuring that those rocket attacks that remain a major threat for Israel in the north, that is now effectively addressed. That is what Yoav Gallant, the defense minister of Israel, focused on. Now, this could well be the next phase of conflict and a deadlier wave of conflict, because Hezbollah has larger number of fighters. By some accounts, while their strength may be close to 2 lakh, the fighting force by some accounts is between 30,000 to 50,000, by others between 75,000 to 1 lakh. They have a larger number of rockets, they have a larger number of missiles, they have drones, they have precision guided munition, and they've been around much longer. And that is why Israel's main focus, if at all these were the actions of Israel, was to take out the tactical level leadership, the fighters, the fighter commanders at the junior level and middle rung. They've been taken out, or they've been taken out of action, at least for now. It's got some respite for Israel to rebalance its forces to the north and then focus on tackling Hezbollah. But all of this also indicates that the world would be seeing a bloodier phase of the conflict in the weeks and months ahead if talks for peace to dial down tensions, as UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres indicated, that the need of the hour is to dial down tensions and bring temperatures down. If that doesn't work, then a major escalation could well be on the horizon.